Welcome to Financial Freedom with the Flipping Flanagans, where we help real estate agents and already successful business professionals create legacy wealth through real estate. We go by the Flipping Flanagans, and we don't actually flip houses very often. When you drop the F bomb a little too often, add that to a real estate background, you get the Flipping Flanagans. We actually buy property to hold and see long term gains protected from inflation while seeing amazing benefits from appreciation and depreciation. See you on the other side.
All right. Good evening, my love.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm in the same clothes as last time. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Well, that's what they call efficiency.
We're going to record a few podcasts, so that we're recording a few at the same time, but they will layer out.
So yeah,
So we like
more
it to
than
be.
one.
I like to comment on that because we are very efficient. I think efficiency is very important in your business. So I thought that would be something fun to point out. And we've been talking about the kind of a business building and treating your business like a business. And on the last call that we just did, we were talking about basically, I had mentioned I canceled Zillow. And I think sometimes I say that and agents kind of freak out and they're like, well, then where do you get your leads?
Everywhere.
But in all reality, we talked about using the investment property strategy as a major opportunity, and we actually get that's a massive competitive advantage for us is having housing for people to stay in, either when they're building a new house or while they're home shopping, so they can remove their home sale contingency. It really layers into so many levels with the real estate sales business. And then even like our tenants ending up being buyers with us. That's happened a few times and it's awesome. And then another thing that I wanted to touch on tonight was really how we use events as a business building tool and how I think events are really, really important no matter what business you're in. So if you're listening to this and you are either somebody who is influential in your business's sales or you're running your own business, I think events can be really powerful.
Well, it's like large scale um, implementation because yes, I can have one consultation and sometimes they're 30 minutes and sometimes they're 2 hours. If I can fill a room
Mm-hmm.
and give all those insights, it's so much more impactful and it fulfills the purpose of just serving more people, serving more deeply,
Yeah.
and you get to collaborate with others, which is
Yeah.
really, really interesting and fun because then those relationships get deeper. And when the partnerships are close, you get to just more comprehensively serve the client or the community all at the same time. So,
Yes, it is powerful. So we just got done with one of our events recently. We held a first time investor seminar,
mm-hmm.
and we advertised it through Facebook. I had an Eventbrite link, and we really just invited past clients, and we had a full room. So next time we host one, we will definitely get a bigger space.
Well, it's so, and that's, you never really know what
Right.
the turnout's going to be. Yes, we have RSVPs and you try your best, which it's just a shameless plug or an opportunity to share like the, I don't want to say the courtesy, but like I never was an RSVP guy because I didn't want to commit. And like if you're likely to attend, click the RSVP or
Yeah.
send that back
Well,
because it goes a long way.
it does go a long way, and that's how we send out free stuff after.
True.
Like, I
Yeah.
mean, we held that event and we had a full room, but we had about another 20 people that RSVP'd that didn't make it. And that's 100% okay because there wouldn't have been room in the room. So I didn't know that when I listed how many people could attend.
Yeah.
I should have probably chatted with the title company that we held it at prior to putting the number of people that could fit.
I don't think anybody complained. Yes, it got a little bit warm, but and there were people sitting around the corner, couldn't even see
Yeah,
the front, but they were still completely
engaged. Yeah.
engaged. So,
Yes, so we'll get a bigger space, but the thing is, all the people that RSVP'd will get we said we were going to send like our moving checklist out, and we're going to send out. There was a couple things that we discussed that evening that we'll be sending out to everybody who had RSVP'd because that's how their email addresses were logged and whatnot. So, yeah, when we post an event, and so going back to this is two way. We have people who are listening to this as potential investors or people that might possibly want to work with us someday.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've also got the our background went away.
Yeah.
We also have, where was I going with that? Sorry. So we've got people who are like listening to this to learn how to be investors or learn how to be better off financially. And then we also tend to attract most of the people I talk to after and say, I heard listen to your podcast. They're usually like real estate agents or people in the business. And
Oh,
so
right.
helping people build their businesses. So I want to go at this both ways, but having the event and providing a lot of value is really, really important. So if you're the business owner and you are putting on an event and you're like, nobody ever shows up to my events or nobody ever, I feel like I do all this work and it's not paying off. I would look at your value add. So what value are you providing the people that you're inviting into that event? And if you aren't having people show up, either you're not presenting the value that you're adding or you haven't provided the value that people are looking for that they would feel that they got a good, use of their time out of.
Right.
Because people are coming and they're spending, we said it was going to be 2 hours. It ended up being 3, and everyone was there engaged until the end. And we could have gone, we can talk about investing for hours and days and days and years and years. So packing in real estate investment seminar into 2 hours was a challenge. But it, in a good way, that was the goal, is to create engaging conversations and inspire people to go out and take massive action. And I think we accomplished that goal. People were very open to and ready to learn. And oh my gosh, you guys opened my mind up to different things that I hadn't, I didn't think that we could go out and invest. And they actually
didn't realize the potential
the
that
potential,
they actually
yes.
were sitting on.
Yes. And so, depending on what your skill set is, I'm going to just use a random example, but like if you're a doctor or a chiropractor or just outside of the real estate industry, because I used to own a spa. And so I think about when I used to have events there, like this works for any industry. And if you're a business owner and you feel like you could use more sales, and I say more sales because, if you have more income, then you get to invest in real estate. And I feel like that's how we've got to where we are. So anytime I can help somebody increase their income so that they can eventually use that income to increase their assets, that's the route that we're going to go. So that's where I bring this up. So using events, but I think of like if you go to your doctor and they were to have, I've got little kids and they were going to have a seminar on something, what would get me out of the house and go to that? Well, let's say, we remote school our kids. Let's say they were having an event that was like the impact and emotional, whatever, if you remote school your kids versus having them in school. And they spoke to me and they were like, we're going to have this one study that we did and it's going to evaluate the, emotional awareness, or I don't know, I'm totally making all this up, but that would pique my interest. And it's also going to get you in front of the people that you want to do business with. So using an event, if something is really your strength, don't have an event on something that you're not good at. That doesn't make sense. Like you want to attract your ideal client, right? So I love the move-up buyer. I love working with move-up buyers, people who are getting ready to potentially, leave their first home or second home and move into what they would maybe consider like a forever home. And the reason I love that is honestly, I get to sit down with them and be like, if you were to rent this house out, this is what it looks like. And if you were to sell it and move the equity over here, some of the equity over here, but you were able to, also purchase a rental property or pay off some debt. And like, we get to play with help them restructure their finances. So we get to be a vessel for them as far as like really helping them set up their financial future for themselves and their children, or if they don't have children, but for them. And at the same time get to have conversations about asset building and what that would look like and structuring that the right way. So that's when I talk about ideal client, for me, if I'm working with a first-time home buyer, I love being able to talk to them about the potential of holding on to that home as an asset long-term. So, if they're sometimes a first-time home buyer might be looking at something and they're thinking, oh, I'll live here for 3 years and then I'll sell it. But I like to look at it like, what if you bought the house that would make the perfect investment property? And then you got to turn this into investment property and move up. And then, 20 years from now you all of a sudden you have multiple properties that are essentially paid off. And what would that do for you?
Right.
And so so thinking about your ideal client. And so if you're, whatever profession you're in, really thinking about who is the best person I ever worked with, like, and really thinking about what their needs were, what problem did you solve for them, and then that's where I would start to build out the event. So
Or stay and just like you touched on something earlier on, and you talked about maybe saying staying relevant. It's just like anything,
yeah,
right? Taking pictures of your meal and posting them on Facebook occasionally are it's great because it's the presentation, you're at a special restaurant, you're sharing the experience with the people in your sphere, but is it really relevant? You know, I was challenging myself with this recently, and I don't consider myself anything more than just like a real estate professional focus with a focus on finance. But in order to be an achiever, which is what I feel like I am, and I want to continue to grow my sphere of additional achievers and inspire people. I was thinking about the time of year it was early in the year. People make um, resolutions for their
hmm
health, and I realized like even myself going to the gym more and kind of relocating, it was starting to cross that time where I'm like, oh, it's really inconvenient to make it today. And so I said, maybe somebody, if I'm feeling this way, somebody else is probably feeling this way too. So I made my post to what I thought was going to be relevant, which was stay with the health goals, realize or shift your thinking in a certain kind of way. And it did happen to get like more engagement than I would have expected it to.
yeah,
And so the same thing, like thinking about what's relevant based on the current times.
hmm
And so if it's cold and there's something you have that relates to better management of that season or that time of the year, then like make it at that time.
yeah,
Not you're not going to talk about summer things in the winter, vice
right,
versa. So trying to bring something that's relevant, and when you said getting the audience to show up, don't expect them to show up right out of the gate. You
hmm
have to do it a few times. You have to raise the awareness and the visibility and probably do a little bit of marketing to fill the room.
absolutely,
And you get better at what you're doing the more you do it. So it's okay to be a little rusty or try to figure it out while you're doing it so that you
yeah,
can be better the next time and let the people that do show up, even if it is minimal, be a sounding board for you. Hey,
hmm
if you thought this was valuable or if you have any feedback, please give it to me so that I can
yeah,
share it. Please share it so somebody else can get the same benefit out of it.
yeah. It's interesting because we would host events and um, something that's like a first time homebuyer event. We don't get a lot of like. There's not a lot of. We've never had massive success in a bunch of people showing up, and but yet I will say this. That's not really my love. I'm not. It's probably not where I'm an expert in. I'm not an expert in working with first time homebuyers, and I'll be the first one to admit that. Steph on my team is, but for me to go out, that's not really my audience. So then you think about that, and it's like, okay. And I always also say, if one person shows up or 20 people shows up, it doesn't matter, because if one person showed up and you get to have a one-on-one conversation with that person, that's deeper than you can't talk to all 20 people that are in the room. Unfortunately, you schedule time for after, but you really get the deeper connection when it is a smaller event. So no matter what, just appreciate the whatever the outcome was. You put in the work, and you're growing, right? So we were talking about this earlier. It's like appreciate where you came, how far you've come, and just learning the process of hosting an event is a big deal. Like if nobody showed up, you still got to learn how to post it on social media, how to post it on if you're using Eventbrite. And so just going through the process, the next time is going to be easier simply because you went through the process already once.
Mm-hmm.
We can't ever expect to be perfect at something the first time we do it. Honestly, like now an event is pretty and it's not easy. It's all the things that I did in the past to get to the point of now. It's easy because we have systems in place. We start marketing 8 weeks before. We do this on 7 weeks before. We do this 6 weeks before. We hand out materials that, whatever it is, there's a process behind it. and you improve that process every time. Just like you mentioned, it's like you evaluate what went well, ask your attendees what went well and what they enjoyed and what they didn't enjoy, and you change it.
Right.
So
And if you have partners or staff or even supporters that are friends and family that find the content, whatever it is your expertise is, interesting, hopefully they come just out of support, and it's a perfect, safe, and it kind of safer environment where you're not going to be offended
yeah.
if you do get some feedback. I nowadays, friends, I would say, show up to our stuff because they are interested in the content, not just there for support. And it's humbling because it's easier nowadays to talk to a stranger than it is people who've known you for years, because we've evolved so much, especially when you're continuously trying to level up or improve on things.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Yeah.
I love the events.
Me
I
too.
really do, just because and it's not about. I used to think you had to have it scripted and you had to have exactly all the words that you're supposed to say on there. And it's easier just to be bullet pointed and then kind of read the room and,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
see the questions that are going to be asked, or do that introduction. And if it's in a more intimate setting, I love it when there's a small enough group of attendants to just sort of run around the room and who are you, where you're from, and why you here.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of events and getting uncomfortable.
Uh-oh.
So we are actually we're going to be hosting a women's only event. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. It'll benefit you, I promise. I think it benefits the husbands more.
Oh.
So we're hosting, actually, we've interviewed her on the podcast before, but Mariah Brown.
Oh, yeah.
I hired her as my I've never hired a health coach before. I've always hired business coaches, and I've always been, I guess I didn't even realize there were health coaches out in the world because it wasn't even on my radar. It's kind of like my tunnel vision we talked about on the last episode. Like, you don't know that the whole world is out here, and I'm like, I've always been very business oriented. And
didn't you either met her just through business coaching, or
I did meet her through
an
business
event?
coaching.
Was she at an event
Yeah.
in person?
Yeah.
Did I go to that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I thought so.
yeah,
See,
actually.
again, events. You never know
No,
what's going to happen when you get in the same room with like-minded people.
Yeah, so Kelly Roach. We were at Kelly Roach event, and she had a small mastermind that was part of my program with her in Florida. And Mariah was up in front of the room, and she's like free. This woman is like, she runs the Women's Vibrancy Code. So that kind of tells you just the name of that group. But the Women's Vibrancy Code. So she is vibrant. Like, she radiates feminine energy. And she, honestly, like, her ideal client is women like me who are often like living in their business and having to almost, we think we do not. This is what she taught me. We think we have to take on a masculine role in our business in order to compete with, the men. And I, full disclosure, like, the entire time I ran my real estate business, I would go listen to successful men's podcasts, like, they're running teams. And I don't even know, like, if it wasn't, it just happens to be that there's more of them, I think. Or that I was aware of more of them.
Right.
And so that's where I would go for my information. And then, now I'm trying to be like this man who's running a team, a mega team or whoever. And that's not me. That's not who I am.
Right. It's more dominating
Yeah.
than it is like nurturing.
Yeah.
And the nurturing is almost like more powerful and
Yes.
more natural.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that when
Oh my gosh.
your shift comes about and you embrace the feminine side and don't allow that dominant business aspect to change what you are better naturally.
Yeah. And what do you think has happened with my business since I started living more in my feminine energy?
I think it comes from a calmer place, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, we're, as men, have to be, I think, more intense. It's less attractive when a man's meek or has a little bit of a higher feminine energy. And because I don't even think that masculine feminine is.
We all have masculine and feminine energy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So. And so we're hosting an event. So this is out of my comfort. it's the first event of this magnitude that I'm hosting. And so, but she changed my life. And so we met her at an event, like Brad was saying, and I had this like immediate attraction to understanding like what this woman is all about. Like,
Mm.
she's free and you can feel her energy. So we ended up having a conversation, a podcast, and then long story short, she I was really struggling with my allergies when I met her. And she's like, "Have you ever, done a food diary?" And I jokingly go, "Well, I'm allergic to birch and I'm not eating birch trees. Like, I'm like, this seems ridiculous." But come to find out, there's cross reactivity. And so, anyways, her and I ended up working together on a whole new level. Like, she goes into, women's hormones and your stress levels and your cortisol levels. And this woman literally changed my life with her knowledge. And so I called her recently and I was like, "Hey, Mariah, I really wish more women had access to you and your brain and how you help people completely change and love themselves again." And so she agreed to come to Omaha, Nebraska.
Mm.
And so March 21st, we're going to be hosting an event. We're dialing in the event space right now. By the time you hear this episode, it should be in the description. But it is going to be limited to 250 people. I'm hoping that, I know it's going to sell out. I have no doubt in that because she's an absolute badass who you shouldn't miss out on this event.
Well, she came from? We need to get the podcast. We'll have to get an interview with her. Just
Yeah,
to
we're
kinda
going to do
help give
the next
some
one will
people
be an
some
interview with her.
insights.
Yeah, that sounds great.
But she comes from the traditional medicine background, correct?
She was a midwife.
Okay.
Yep. So sorry. I'm going to screw this up. So Mariah, we're going to bring you on the next podcast. I'm not going to mess up your bio.
So yeah, she has this background
Mhm.
in traditional some kind of medicine.
Yeah.
And then yes, saw that there was more opportunity in more holistic stuff.
Yes.
So,
Oh my gosh. The thing,
okay.
I'm completely off allergy medicine. I'm like, talk about gut health, all the things. So we're going to do a full day event here and there's going to be the opportunity to buy a VIP ticket. So there's going to be some really awesome bonuses for the VIP women that come. We only have 20 tickets for that. But so March 21st and so it's it's going to be called Become the CEO of Your Health, Personal Relationships, and Your Finances. So her and I are going to be digging into those things together. I went to a 4-day event with her. Was that last year or the year before? A year and a half ago. So most amazing thing I've ever experienced. She really knows how to build a foundation. So like you leave understanding exactly what she's teaching you and you're able to implement it into your life for immediate change, which is what was so impactful to me is that she was able to get such massive results so quickly. And then honestly, it was weird because like after I got done with our coaching together, it was like 6 months later, I realized I was still like finding things that she had told me that I was implementing or like just daily habits that I was doing. Like I was like, creating a habit is so hard. And for me to like be still doing the things that she taught me and feeling great, I was like, this is so awesome. Being able to come to Omaha and record a podcast without feeling like I'm dying, like it is like unheard of and it makes me so happy. So I'm really excited to bring her here and introduce her and I'm excited for all of the women that I know here in Omaha, Nebraska to give her like the most amazing warm welcome and convince her to come back because I think she's one of the most amazing humans I've ever met.
Well, and I know that it won't just be Omaha, Nebraska in attendance.
No, that's true.
Our little events bring people from miles or states away.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be very powerful. I'm glad to kind of have her come here because you got to go there and see what their world's about and she can see what fun Omaha can be.
Yeah. So
and the people are awesome here. So
they are awesome here. And that's what I said, yeah, visually, the landscape is no Ashland, Oregon, but the people are amazing, absolutely amazing, and that's why we spend so much time here.
And it's growing so
much.
much.
Oh my gosh, it's growing so much. So
awesome. Well, no, we need to continue to get that good blend in the mix of your personal life and your professional life, and not let either dominate the other.
Yes, yes. So,
All right.
all right. Well, we'll put that information for that. And if you are a business owner and you want to get in touch with us and even brainstorm, I'm always happy to brainstorm events or help you with, what maybe your ideal client might like. I absolutely geek out on that stuff. So get in touch and we'll help you out.
Absolutely. Collaboration. Well, thanks for coming in today, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We hope you'll hit that subscribe button to stay in touch. Also, join our Facebook group at Building Legacy Wealth Through Real Estate to find out more about what we do and what we offer. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.